let's go back to recyclability and sort of the environment. I would imagine that you spend an awful lot of time educating customers on this issue, or do they come to you fully educated, know exactly what they want,
No,
or is it a
typically,
mix?
yeah, typically it's not. I think if you go to some of the brands, they do have an idea of what's coming, right? And that they need to address it. But it's really the minority that comes up and says, "Hey, this is the solution I'm looking for. Do you offer that?" Typically, it's people that come and say, "Hey, this is our packaging currently. How would we replace that? What can we actually claim? Because there's a lot of solutions out there that claim that they are recyclable, that they are the perfect solution, that they run on your lines, right? So it's a jungle of solutions. So how do you make sure that you really find the one that is keeping the promises? Yeah. So this is typically what we do, and that we have designed what I would call a customer journey, right? So which means we would take the customer from actually understanding their product and the protection and the supply chain that they want to deliver it into, until really delivering the final packaging design. So we'll help them with the modeling of the intake of moisture, the sensitivity to oxygen, the sensitivity to light. And then we say, hey, based on that data, this is your perfect packaging solution. And by the way, we would also shape the blister packaging cavity maybe a little bit different to have a better protection or better durability of the solution. And we don't stop there. Then we offer to do prototypes for the customer. So, which means in our eye center in Charlottesville, customers can get 10 blister samples for their marketing team or 100 for consumer testing to really look at how is the new packaging. Do people like it? Is it easy to open? And where does this go? And when a customer then decides, okay, I want to qualify the material, then this is where our local application engineering team actually comes into play. So, which means we would send experts to their lines to help them really run the material and qualify the material. So, it's an end to end journey that we support our customers on, with finding the right packaging material and really getting it through stability, compliance, and qualification in their processes.
Well, and you can see how this would be a process very near and dear to a company in terms of the fact that the packaging is, a tactile experience that is such an extension of the brand. I mean, it's what you're holding and touching, and so I imagine like there is a sense of, there's a real sense of, getting it right on behalf of your customers, I would imagine. It's not
And
just
it,
packaging, in other words.
yeah, and it's really, I think we are the experts, right? So this is why we have the vision to say, hey, we're a solution provider. So which means we'll help you out to find whatever works best for you, right? And with that, we are working on providing this end-to-end service, and also the full I guess range of solutions, because there is not just one solution, right? For some customers, they might say, hey, I'm based in PP because I think this is the best solution. And yes, we do have PP solutions that will work for customers based on barrier. But at the same time, you might have some that say, well, actually, I think PET is the future. So, yeah, and I don't need barrier protection, so I can go for PET, right? And it's really driven by the unique challenges of a customer, right? So, which means the brands have to I guess talk about their vision and how they see the packaging. And really, I think sustainability is critically important, and it's a unique value proposition for brands to differentiate themselves from competition. But at the same time, the integrity of the packaging and the protection that it has to deliver has to be always the first focus for us, to make sure that it's not just sustainable and then you have to reduce the shelf life or change your storage times or whatever it is, but really making sure that you have a fully sustainable solution that has all the characteristic a packaging needs to deliver to protect the nutraceutical supplement.
Mhm, mhm, yeah, and I imagine it's those companies that I imagine a lot of people come to you, to that point, they come to you in a panic. Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
and I guess to be fair, we're not experts on how to develop a nutraceutical, right? As a consumer, and I think this is always so interesting. I like to do this with family and friends. Is like, if you show them the packaging, it's like, yeah, it's plastic. It's like, no, there's so many variances of it, right? And there's so many types of material, and they do such an important job for us, like every day, that it's
Mhm.
important for us to really offer that service to um, reduce waste, right? Reduce packaging waste, but also reduce the waste on unused medication or supplements, right? So, which means
Mhm.
if you have a packaging that doesn't protect your product well, and your supplements gets kind of sticky, or does look odd or change color, well, obviously as a consumer you will not be able to use it any longer, right?
Right.
And even if you don't notice, right, a probiotic or vitamin might just lose its function. So which means the end consumer that is buying it for good reasons to protect their health, well, ends up taking a pill that is basically not functioning any longer, right? So this is
Mhm.
also something that has to be understood, and that us having our roots and I guess culture coming from farmer, this is exact in some of our applications we're talking about life-saving drugs, right, that are going to the end of the world, and they still need to be having a protective packaging. And this is the mindset that we go to every of our applications, is having the maximum protection and the best as possible supply chain for customers to ensure that there's as minimum waste in the whole process as possible and the best protection.
I mean, and this is a silly question, but so most consumers, when they're done with the packaging, they just throw it in the garbage. But where the all of this dedication to recyclability comes in, because they're not putting it in a separate stream probably, unless they're really diehard, you know. But it's about the biodegradability even in the landfill. Is that right?
Yeah, and there's, like I said, there's a jungle of innovations coming out there. Biodegradability is a tough one, specifically if you go for drugs or nutraceuticals or supplements, anything like that. Typically, we really focus on solutions that are truly recyclable, at best mechanical recyclable, and that a consumer can carelessly put into their bin for recycling, and it goes into the right stream. So we're working with the recycling industry, for example, on AI solutions that look at the blister and make sure that if it's half full, it's not going into recycling, right? So to make sure that there's no contamination of the wastewater with any of the ingredients, because in best case it's a vitamin that doesn't harm anyone. In worst case, it might be hormones or anything like that, right? So which means we'll have to make sure that everything that is still having active drug substances is not entering the recycling stream. So, I guess beyond the role of us to design the packaging, we're working closely with the industry of recyclability or recycling to understand how can we solve this upcoming challenges, if it's printing or if it's the half full blister that's going into recycling. So I think that's extremely important, for us to also present that challenges and that information to customers to say, hey, that's all the things that we already thought about, and that's all the testing that we already did with APR, with Recyclage, right, with the known institutes of the different countries and regions, to really have an end-to-end solution that works.
It's you're answering a question I was going to ask you, which was one would think a layperson would look at this industry and think like you must reach a plateau with regard to innovation where it's like, okay, we figured it out, like we're done. But clearly there is a continuity of innovation with regard to packaging that I think a lot of people would be surprised about. I think, you know, we would think, well, geez, it's like to your point about your friends, you know, thinking, oh, it's just plastic, right? Like we know how to make plastic. But the reality is that this is a continuum of innovation and right. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Because also the challenges are changing, right? So which means there's more and more legislation coming up for specific substances that can't be used any longer, right? So even if you don't change the polymer, there might be specific additives and things that shouldn't be used any longer, right? So which means we as a society and our governments get more sensitive about this, the processes and the structures and ingredients that are used in plastic, and how do we have a sustainable and healthy future, which is the right thing to do. So also their innovation is fostered. And I think from our side, for example, we're also thinking about our solutions as plug and play solution, right? So which means I can offer you a solution and tell you it's sustainable and it has the shelf life, but it doesn't run on any on your lines, right? So with that, it doesn't really have a value for a producing company, because now you have to invest into new lines or new
Right.
tooling, or you have to reduce speed and all of that. And with that, I force you to invest into other lines. So, which means the sustainable footprint of your company or is your CO2 footprint is not going down, because you have to invest into new
Right.
capacity, although you're not
It's like
producing more.
whack-a-mole. It just goes somewhere else. Yeah.
Exactly. So, which means we're dedicating a lot of the work to what we call plug and play solutions, to make sure that if we delivered a solution, it works on the same line, it works with the same tool, and it works at the same speed, right? So that customers don't lose profitability, yield, and at the end also the CO2 footprint balance of the materials that they bring out to the market.
Last question, and it plays off of what you just said, the sort of better state of packaging. What does the future hold? Is there some science fiction like that we can think about in terms of the future of packaging? I mean, is there a dream state where we're gonna have smart packaging, or AI is gonna do something crazy, or
Yeah,
what?
I mean, you just mentioned it, right? Smart packaging is always something that is on our mind. So, which means how can we bring more functionality into the package that helps to, for example, I was touching on a consumer doesn't even notice if it's functional or not, if it has too high light intake or moisture intake. So, can we work on something that can help the consumer see that, right? Or the one of the biggest challenges of the WHO is anti-counterfeiting, or is counterfeiting of drugs and supplements, right? So which means
Right.
it's among the global supply chain. There is like plagiarized drugs going out in the market that in worst case are really risking people's life. So which means that's
Mhm.
also something that we think about, is how can we be helpful on providing packaging solutions that make sure that it is the original, right? And it's the
That
functional drug.
they're hard to reproduce by counterfeiters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the challenges and the ideas are endless, right? And I think additional to that, we want to have a close relationship to our customers to talk about their unique challenges, right? So this is why we have the eye center. This is why we have our service division, to say, instead of just what we think is a problem, is okay, what is your specific problem? Because that's something that I learned in the last 20 years with this company. Every customer and every packaging challenge can be unique because of their supply chain that it takes, because of the recipe of the drug or whatever it is. But it always makes sense to understand the full story to really have the best solution at the end.
Well, and I thank you for providing CRN with the full story for our chat here.